Hello and welcome to episode 91 of the How to Survive podcast. My name is Joe. Joining me as ever is Chris Morris. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am excited, Chris, because this week we're covering one of my favourite movies from my childhood. It is one of the best movies. I mean, it's a space movie. You know, it's a bit B movie, but it's got a decent sized budget, an amazing cast, exciting thrills. It's funny, it's well paced, and above all, it's thoroughly enjoyable. Jack Nicholson, Pierce Brosnan, Annette Bening, Glenn Close.
No. Hang on. Are you talking about Mars Attacks?
Yeah, the movie.
No, that's next week.
Oh. What's this week?
It's Jason X.
In the year 2455, on a routine training mission, a team of students is about to discover a life form frozen in time.
Wow. They're on their way back. Prepare for docking and power up the lab.
You brought him on board?
Everything's under control, ma'am. What the hell is going on?
Jason Voorhees, that's what's going on. He's an unstoppable killing machine.
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back.
How do we get off the ship?
I don't know.
Look, we're gonna be all right.
What? Are you high?
Uh-oh.
He's here.
Hello and welcome to episode 91 of the How to Survive podcast. And as is our remit every 10 weeks, this being the 10th of those 10 weeks, and an episode number with a 1 in it at the end, that can only mean one thing. And we're covering the latest in the Friday the 13th franchise. We're on number 10 now, Joe. That's Jason X from 2001, directed by James Isaac.
Okay.
And
Is he done much else?
he's directed 4 other films, Joe. See if you've seen any of these.
Mm-hmm.
Pig Hunt,
No.
Skinwalkers.
No, don't know that one.
He directed 1 episode of Joe Bob's Drive-In Theatre for
Okay.
television.
Right, okay.
Have you seen House 3, the horror show
I missed
from
it.
1989?
No.
That's it.
Okay.
That's all.
He's dead now.
Yes, yeah. May he rest in peace. And looking back on his finest work, that is, of course, Jason X. If you haven't seen Jason X, don't bother, because we're about to recap the plot, and it's really not worth your time.
Yeah.
But if you, for some reason, have a clandestine, have a desire to be spoiler-free for all of the Friday the 13th films, then now's your chance to duck out before we spoil the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, if you've seen Friday the 13th 1, you've seen all 10 Friday the 13th.
Yeah. But this one's in space, Joe. So imagine all the interesting twists on the formula that they're going to go through, maybe, using all the scientific space age things. Jason could take control of things with a robot or something.
Yeah.
All those sorts of things, all that excitement to come.
Yeah.
Surely, Joe, he won't simply off one by one the other cast members with a machete.
Yeah, who are all teenagers.
Yeah.
I
I mean, how would that work, though, in a sci-fi movie?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well-
so yeah, this is your last chance
Yeah.
to get out while you still can.
Mm-hmm.
While we throw on with the plot ahead of chatting about how to survive later on. So yes, 2001's Jason X. The year, Joe, is 2010.
Right.
And a team of military scientists are preparing to freeze Jason Voorhees in order to keep him in stasis and stop his murderous sprees, because they've tried executing him and it just hasn't worked. So their only solution is to put him on ice indefinitely. However, in a surprising twist, Joe, he escapes and murders all but one of the facility's personnel.
Yeah.
Scientist Rowan LaFontaine manages to trick Jason into one of the cryo chambers, but is frozen along with him when he attacks her through the shell of his cryo chamber. Both are thawed out by a salvage team in the year 2455 and taken aboard their spaceship, the Grendel. And one of my favourite things early doors in this film is that someone says, how long have they been frozen for? And they say approximately 4.55 centuries. It's not approximately.
No.
It's exactly 455 years.
Exactly. Well, I think there's a lot of contention about the timeline here.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to get into timelines in the Friday the 13th franchise, you're going to be here all day.
Exactly.
Jason and Rowan are thawed out in the year 2455 and wake up aboard the spaceship, the Grendel. The crew is made up of a military team led by Sergeant Brodsky and a student research team led by their professor Braithwaite Lowe. Also on board is a robot, KM-14, and various other essentially nameless personality vacuums.
Yeah, that's classic Friday the 13th territory, though.
Yeah, they're just fodder. Like from the get go, you're like, right, well,
you're going to survive longer than you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Rowan's wound, her machete wound, is healed by nanobots on the ship who are able to rapidly heal any kind of wound. The crew tell her that Earth was rendered an apocalyptic wasteland and now humans live on Earth 2.0. She attempts to explain the danger of having Jason on the ship, but Professor Lowe sees Jason as a relic that he can sell for a high price, and he's terribly in debt. So
his financial woes chasing him around the universe.
Yeah. Jason wakes up as well, just as two teens begin having sex in a nearby bedroom and begins rampaging through the ship, killing the entire military crew except Brodsky. Which, you can see why I haven't bothered to name any of the other military personnel.
Yeah.
That scene takes about 40 minutes as well.
Yeah.
But we cut into the chase.
Yeah.
The ship attempts to dock at a space station called Solaris, but Jason kills the Grendel's pilot, sending the ship crashing into the Solaris, destroying it, and killing, according to the director, around 20,000 people, which makes this by far the highest body count for any Friday the 13th.
Even if you take away those, it's considered the highest body count.
Exactly.
But 20,000 does seem rather significant.
Yes.
That's a small country.
Yes. Jason continues his rampage, killing Lowe, and soon all are dead except Brodsky, Rowan, KM-14, her partner Sunaron, and two other generic characters who obviously won't survive the film, you can tell. Sunaron and KM-14 confess their love for one another, and KM-14 dons leather and automatic weaponry in what was an obvious nod to The Matrix, which came out 2 years before, and starts gunning Jason down until he's shot to pieces, and then she destroys his head with a well-placed shotgun blast.
Yes.
However, Joe, there's a twist, isn't there? Because Jason's body falls on a nanobot computer that we saw earlier, healing his wounds and replacing his body with a metallic exoskeleton, creating Uber Jason. And Uber Jason attacks once again, punching KM-14's head clean off and killing the other two survivors just as a rescue vessel arrives. And obviously, because KM-14 is a robot, she's still alive and able to make sort of wisecracking jokes, as she has been throughout the film.
Yeah, and the special effect they used to have her as a disembodied head is just framing her slightly out of shot.
Yeah, having her lie down. Yeah. Just off screen, so only her head is on,
in a headlock.
Yeah, exactly. Basically.
Amazing.
Yeah, because her boyfriend is carrying around her head, but he's like doing it underarm.
Yeah,
so it's obviously like just framed out. Yeah. Jason's machinations mean that what's left of the Grendel is due to self-destruct. So in order to distract him, the crew create a virtual reality version of Crystal Lake. As the door to the rescue vessel is opened, Jason sees through the facade, but is stopped from entering the rescue ship by Brodsky, who sacrifices himself to drag Jason. They're in the vacuum of space at this point.
Yeah.
He sacrifices himself to drag Jason into the atmosphere of the now nearby Earth 2.0, apparently incinerating them both. Rowan, what's left of KM-14, and Sunaron recover on the rescue ship and are relieved that Jason's reign of terror, which at this point has lasted nearly 500 years, is finally over. On Earth 2.0, two teenagers see a shooting star, which is actually Jason's mask, falling out of the sky nearby. Remarking that it appears to have fallen in a new crystal lake, the pair decide to check it out, which I'm sure will go swimmingly. And that is how Jason X finishes.
Yeah.
So number 10.
The last of the pure Friday the 13th as well.
Yeah.
If you appreciate my terminology there, because it is a canonical sequel to Friday the 13th 9.
Is it?
Which was Jason Goes to Hell. I think so, yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's no... He's not in hell at the start of the film.
He is.
Well, there's the credit sequence.
Yeah,
but then,
I take that to be canon.
Yeah,
I
but
think,
how you didn't see him escaping from hell.
Well, that doesn't matter. You don't see him escaping from New York.
No, exactly. Yeah, but okay, yes, it is ostensibly
it's as canonical as any other film is.
Yeah,
right?
fair enough. No, any other Friday the 13th film.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Right. It's as canonical as those. So I'd call it canonical. I think it's considered by the fandom to be canonical.
Fine.
Not that anything that they think should be taken into account.
No.
The next one up is Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Which is, at this point, when it comes out, it has been planned for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And then we've got the remake. So this is really the last we'll see of pure Jason.
Fond farewell for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something occurred to me at this point watching the film, because obviously this is the 10th film. There are probably like whole film franchises that even like beloved things like Star Wars or Indiana Jones or whatever that I haven't watched cumulatively 10 times. Like I've watched the Indiana Jones films a few times.
Yeah.
I may not have watched a cumulative total of 10 Indiana Jones films.
Right.
I have watched 10 Friday the 13th films now. There's something
bleak, isn't it?
Yeah, there is something bleak about that. So, I mean, what did you think of Jason X?
Oh, it was fantastic, mate. I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the least bit boring, interminable, predictable, or upsettingly poor CGI.
Yeah, 2 years after The Matrix, as I said.
Yeah. After The Matrix?
Yeah.
And this is what they came up with?
Yeah.
Flipping heck, like, honestly.
It's like, it is like sub PlayStation 1 graphics at some stages.
Yeah. It's poor.
I mean, there were some things that I liked in it. Yeah. So
You're lying.
No, I'm not. No, I thought when he wakes up and kills the woman in the lab by freezing her head in liquid nitrogen and then smashing it, that's good.
That's the most inventive death in possibly 10 movies.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it makes use of the setting in a way that no other death in the film does. Because that's something that we couldn't have seen in any other Friday the 13th film because there aren't any liquid nitrogen tanks lying around Crystal Lake. Now, from that point onwards, though, he picks up a machete and every other person who gets killed, pretty much.
Well, don't forget the person who falls onto a giant drill bit.
Yeah, and then spins slowly down.
And then they say, oh, she's screwed.
Yeah, that's truly, truly dreadful. I thought for the same reason, the VR Crystal Lake that they create was good. I mean,
we know canonically that Jason is gullible. You can say like, I'm your mother, and he go, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it sort of rounded it off for me in a nice way. It felt like the conclusion of he's back in old Crystal Lake somehow. And also the mask landing in Crystal Lake 2.0 is ridiculous, but like it's obviously silly and funny in a way that not enough of the film is.
Yeah.
Because it's like clearly ridiculous, like, and taking the piss out of itself by having these teenagers go, oh yeah, let's go check it out.
Right.
But not enough of the film is like that.
Yeah. Like you've named 3 things that were good there.
Yeah.
Have you got any more?
No, that's it.
Good. So like you say, like the funniness there is there. The rest of the film tries to make jokes which fail quite miserably.
Yeah.
So for instance, there's one gag where the professor is sleeping with one of the students.
Yeah.
And we're meant to laugh at the fact that he enjoys having his nipples tweaked with forceps.
Yeah.
Like, and the only way that is there is to be played for laughs or to make him seem like some sort of like
depraved
Yeah.
person.
But it's just weird.
It is just weird. It's rubbish, isn't it? It's like needless. In fact, you said the film was boring, and it's at no point is it more boring than in the first sort of 45 minutes to an hour where they're on the ship, and then you have all the characters being introduced that you just don't care about. What are the costumes about as well? Like 2 different
Amazing.
woolen like crop tops layered over the top of one another, and like weird things like that. Really strange. Like the film looks so cheap as well.
Yeah.
It looks like Farscape. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, although any sort of really rubbish 90s sci-fi show, or like a Laser Quest set.
It's pretty hammy.
Yeah, like Quasar or whatever you call it. Like, it really does look like everything's made out of like tinfoil and
Plastic.
yeah, it's dreadful.
Yes. Yeah.
And as I said, like there's no. I think this is like the first Friday the 13th film, which is almost like atonal, because it's like the original lot were sort of obviously horror and influential, you know, for that reason, because they had this like slasher tone. Then you had like part 6 and part 9, which were like pushing comedy to the forefront, which was welcome by that point. And then this one, despite the fact that it's like over the top, it doesn't really like have enough jokes or like fun in it to make it remotely funny. So it's like it's not really a horror, and it's not really it's not enough of a horror to feel like a horror, and not enough of a comedy to feel funny. So it's like it's got no tone whatsoever. It's really strange. And like the stuff, some of the attempts at I assume are attempts at jokes, like the leather robot costume.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Is it meant to be like, what is it, the gag there? What's the joke supposed to
Well,
be?
I assume it's like she turns from a sort of mild-mannered robot, and then she gets kissed and is suddenly like an ass-kicking, you know,
like Grease.
She's Trinity, isn't she? That's exactly what she's.
Yes, that's
like Trinity from the Matrix. So she's wearing like a leather catsuit.
Yeah, with a machine gun.
Yeah, she's got like dual wielding machine guns. But it's just weird. It's just like it's not funny enough, and it's just cringeworthy.
The actress clearly isn't capable. I mean, first of all, the set isn't built for them to do the stunts that they have in the Matrix.
No,
and the actress isn't Trinity, isn't Carrie Ann Moss.
Yeah.
So she couldn't pull off the toughness. It's shit. It's really awful.
Yeah.
Bad teeth as well for a robot.
Yeah. I didn't notice her teeth, but I'll take your word for it. David Cronenberg can't have been up to much either.
No. What's that about?
So David Cronenberg plays a scientist in the first like 5 minutes of the film where he gets killed. And they asked him to do it as well. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like he went, "Oh, I really like the Friday the 13th films. If you've got a little part for me to play, I'm happy to." They had to like ring him up and go, "Hi, David Cronenberg, do you want to be in our film?" Yeah. And the reason he did it was because it would be a novelty to die on screen. But like, why? Why would you be in it if you're David Cronenberg?
If they were shooting like 2 doors down.
Yeah, like
but you wouldn't like get in the car and drive to that.
Yeah.
It's mental.
But it's not even like there's any, I mean, sometimes you see cameos and the character is sort of reflective of the, you know, like, Werner Herzog plays the villain in the first Jack Reacher movie.
Okay.
And, you know, it's brilliant because it's just Werner Herzog being himself, but when he's saying lines in his sort of awful German accent, and he's like, it's sinister because I think he's got one eye in the film as well. Yeah. And it's just like, gives it a sort of campy, ludicrous tone. But like, why David Cronenberg? He's not even a particularly recognisable person. Yeah. You didn't recognise him, did you?
Well, no, I knew he was in the film, so I was waiting for him. I think I like maybe looked at my pack of M&Ms for a second and missed him. Because it is a blink and you miss it.
Pretty much. He has like a couple of lines.
Yeah.
And that's it. But yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yes.
Where does it rank among the other Friday the 13th films?
Well, we can look back on them now with fondness. I don't know. I kind of hate them all. Do you know what I mean? Once when talking about them, they tend to be, there's lots to say. But then when you get more than 9 weeks ahead of it, it's just shit. They're all shit.
Yeah.
I quite like the one where it was like 6, I think. It was kind of comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why I liked it.
Yeah.
Jason Lives, yeah. Because do you know what? I'd like to say my favourite was The New Beginning, which I think was episode 5.
Right.
Which is the one with Roy Burns as the killer, right? Because it's such a bad film. Like, it's just a mess. Like,
yeah.
I think they got a porn director to just come in and do it because he owned some like recording equipment.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stinking. But then it's like when you watch it, it's interminably boring for most of the film. So it's not, you know, like The Room. Everyone watches The Room.
Yeah, yeah.
Or like Double Down.
There's not enough wrong with it to be hilarious on that level.
No, it's just interminably boring, and like it's bad in the sense of like look at what you're trying to do, and look how badly wrong you got it basically.
Because it's almost like a shame that they're all so functional as films. Like they do work as films, just they're not any good.
Yeah, I think it's been like 30, 40 years now since the first one came out.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to release this remake?
Yeah, I think they will at some point.
It's recognizable.
It's a recognizable enough brand, isn't it? At some point, they'll just be like, "Oh, we need a film for October. Let's take that one that that Friday the 13th script that's in hibernation."
Yeah. Speaking of delays, do you know there's a lot of mess around the dates in this movie.
Right.
So she says like it's 4.55 centuries approximately.
Yeah.
And she said that's 455 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's actually incorrect. Like if you total it up, because it's set in 2001, or no, set in 2010.
It's set in 2010.
Yeah.
And then it's set in 2455, which is, I think she says it's 4.45 centuries.
Yeah.
Which is exactly 445 years.
Yeah, but it's incorrect because it was released in 2002.
2001. Yeah.
No, 2001 was when it was made. 2002 is when it was released, so it was immediately wrong.
Yeah, but I think it is set, even though it doesn't say 2010, it is set in 2010. Yeah.
Roger Ebert had some thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
He did some research. He said, this is a quote from his review. "I learned from the Classic Horror Reviews website that the movie was originally scheduled to be released on Halloween 2000 and was then bumped to March 2001, Summer 2001, and Halloween 2001 before finally opening on the 16th anniversary of Chernobyl, another famous meltdown."
Classic Ebert.
Yeah. So it's always a sign, Chris, that a franchise or a series is running out of ideas when they revert to a in space episode.
If it's a British TV show, it's send them on holiday.
Yes.
And if it's a film, then put them in space.
Yeah, exactly right. So with that in mind, and because we've got nothing else to say about this shit film, let's play my popular characters in space quiz.
Cue space music.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Multiple choice questions.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a question and your choices. That's how multiple choice works.
Yeah. Okay. I'm familiar with the concept.
Yeah. Okay. Question 1. In The Flintstones Meet the Jetsons,
right,
the Jetsons are sent to the Stone Age in a time travel accident. What use does Fred have for George Jetson's futuristic gadgets? Is it A, to replace his pelican hand basin? Try being me for a day. Is it B, to automate his job at the quarry while he takes Wilma on holiday to Honolulu Rock? Or is it C, to help his boss, Mr. Slate, in a competition at the company picnic?
Is it B, the helping him so he can go on holiday to Honolulu Rock?
Nope, it was helping his boss in a competition at the company picnic. I don't know what the competition was.
Okay.
Question 2. In Deep Space Homer saves a doomed space shuttle, which he's aboard.
Yeah.
Who gets the credit? Is it A, Bart? Is it B, an inanimate carbon rod? Or is it C, Buzz Aldrin?
Is it B?
The inanimate carbon rod?
Yes.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets featured on the cover of Time magazine.
You're showing your hand a bit here that you're a fan of children's cartoons.
Yes. Question 3. Why does Scooby-Doo end up in space in Scooby-Doo Moon Monster Madness?
Okay.
Is it A, he sneaks aboard a space shuttle whilst looking for pizza? Is it B, he is mistaken... It's a case of mistaken identity for a dog astronaut called Doobie Scoo? Or is it C, Velma and Daphne win a space lottery?
I'm going to go with A.
Well, he sneaks aboard.
Yeah.
No, it was Velma and Daphne win the lottery.
Oh, that's disappointing. If it wasn't that, I was hoping it was going to be dubious Scoo.
Doobie Scoo. That's made up.
Yeah.
Question 4.
Yeah.
In Space Jam, how many of the Tune Squad go to space? Is it A, 1, B, 0, or C, all of them?
All of them?
It's 0.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So why is it called Space Jam?
Because the monsters from Moron Mountain are trying to capture the Looney Tunes to take them into space, so that they'll work at the amusement park on Moron Mountain as
Right.
like to get kids to come from various places.
Okay.
Now, what you could have done there, Chris, you could have been smart and said, well, Marvin the Martian is a member of the Tune Squad. He's a Looney Tune.
Yeah.
You could have said Marvin the Martian is a Looney Tune. He's obviously been in space because he's a Martian. Problem is, he wasn't in the Tune Squad. He was the referee because he was a neutral.
Fascinating insight there.
Yeah. Final question. In the Tom and Jerry episode, Mouse in Space,
Right.
Jerry leaves for space. What does Tom do? A, he becomes an alcoholic. B, he joins the Soviet space program to catch Jerry. Or C, he celebrates having the house to himself.
Well, Tom and Jerry, classically, whenever one of them disappears or gets injured or whatever, they're actually quite affectionate to one another, and you sort of see them missing one another. So I'm going to go with A. Is that he becomes an alcoholic.
Yeah, he does, yeah. And he falls asleep in a hose, which is then used to pump fuel into the space shuttle. So he ends up in space with Jerry.
Great.
But they also come into contact with a Soviet vessel. Guess who's flying it? The Bulldog.
Oh,
Classic.
you do love your cartoons.
Yeah.
So they all Hanna-Barbera ones, apart
from Simpsons, yeah.
And his Looney Tunes as well.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. There you go. You've got a a certain like particular
Niche.
Yeah.
Yeah. My specialist subject on Mastermind is
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera cartoons in space. Well done, mate. 1 out of 5.
Yeah.
Your
No,
worst
2
yet.
out of 5, mate.
Did you get 2?
Yeah, got the carbon rod as well. So
That was 1, though.
yeah,
Oh, and you got the
and-
alcoholic.
yeah.
All right, good. Alcoholic Tom.
Yeah, mind
2 out of 5. Well done, mate.
Mind your neck in, mate. So yeah, Joe. Before we talk about How to Survive, we always like to just have a little catch up with Jason.
What do we
His
know?
character development in What Do We Know? Now, editing in this film appears to suggest that Jason wakes up on the spaceship like literally as the teens begin having sex.
Yeah.
Like as it's going in.
Yeah.
Now, is that how deep his hatred of premarital teen sex goes? Then that it can is so powerful that it can
It's like
wake
smelling
him.
salts.
Yeah, it can bring him round. Because also in the sort of pastiche VR version of Crystal Lake, the two virtual teenagers say, "Oh, we love premarital sex."
Yeah.
Right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's never been before a sort of religious or Christian marriage angle to his hatred of sex.
Well,
Because we previously thought his rage was that the people was due to the fact that the people who were supposed to be looking after him were having sex. Instead, so it's negligence.
I think
rather than
there's a slight misunderstanding on your part there. My understanding, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, was that his mother, who was obviously the killer in the first one,
yeah,
hers correctly, you correctly identified that she was after people who had sex because
right.
that means they're shirking their responsibilities to swimming children.
Yeah.
Now, from then on, I think he's just out to get any teenagers because he blames them for the death of his mother.
But then why would the conjured VR version of Crystal Lake have teenagers specifically saying premarital sex?
That is a question for God only, I think.
Because in this context, it's the sex itself which is the primary cause of his rage, as opposed to their inattention.
Yeah.
So it's because obviously historically he's always had a problem with teenagers having sex.
Yes,
That's beyond reproach.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never before, as far as I can see, been a specific issue with premarital sex. Because were there not a few couples who were married? There was certainly a pregnant couple.
Yeah. No, they weren't married. They have been married.
But there have been married victims.
In Friday 9, Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
I believe that they had to rewrite some of that because it was so like un-Jason-y.
Right.
Un-Friday the 13th-y. They had to put in a scene about that. And in that scene, there's some people driving to the lake and they pick up a hitchhiker and they say something like, oh, we're off to the woods for some premarital sex and drug taking or something like that.
Right.
So I think it is established.
He also doesn't just kill people engaging in premarital sex.
No, he kills anyone he comes into contact with.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems... But like the moment that he wakes up seems to imply that the actual catalyst for his rage, like he's brought back to life because of his anger, and the catalyst for that is specifically the premarital sex, which is corroborated by the conjured Crystal Lake teens saying premarital sex.
Are you putting too much emphasis on the editing talents of the people who made this film?
Potentially.
But I
just like to draw whatever conclusions we can.
No, exactly. I appreciate that. Yeah. He's able to teleport again.
Yeah?
That happens in this film, yeah.
When?
I can't remember exactly, but there's a scene where someone's looking at him and then, he's no longer there. He can travel through walls as well because he's in the room right at the beginning. He's in a room with the scientists who he kills. Yeah. And one of the victims is like fired through the door and says, "Oh, run away," to our hero. And like she turns around and he's already outside that room and behind her.
Right.
But you only have one door.
Is that teleportation or is it just bad editing?
Yeah, again, but that was my concern with the original, and we went with teleportation. So.
Well, okay. Well, assuming that he can teleport, that throws up some interesting notions for later. So at the end of this film, Jason's finally dead, right? He's incinerated.
No, I took it to mean that he's still out there.
What, he's in Crystal? He lands in Crystal Lake. Yeah. Right, I see. But what we've learned is that if you have a weapon that's powerful enough, you can kill Jason permanently by destroying his head completely, provided that there aren't any nanobot doctor machines nearby. Because he is dead. He is fully dead.
But we know the risk in that, though. Because we've seen it happen. In the beginning of Jason Goes to Hell, he's shot to bits by the FBI.
Right.
In a circle.
But not the head, though. Or his heart.
Yeah, it's his heart you need to destroy. Because his heart is filled with a black worm, which infects people and possesses them.
Yeah.
Don't you remember?
Yeah, no idea. How could I forget? Well, I mean, why don't we move straight on then to How to Survive? And one of my How to Survive ideas is why doesn't he use his powers of possession that he honed so well in the previous film? Because he's demonstrably got that power to possess people with his black worm form.
Yeah.
And in the previous film, like he just like the previous film, he should possess someone. In order to hide in their body and board the rescue vessel, surely. Yeah. And similarly, teleportation was a skill that he had. So that you can just teleport onto the rescue vessel.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't do. Unless these are all... Do you remember in the previous film, he was having to jump from body to body because his own body was dead. Like he had to possess people again until he could be reborn. Yeah. So I wonder if he loses that power when he is reborn.
Or is it single use sort of thing?
Well, no, because he possesses a number of people, but then he, as the black worm, crawls up his dead mother's vagina, and is then fully reborn,
right?
As the fully formed Jason.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is maybe once he's reborn as the fully, it's a bit like the xenomorph, right? Yeah. Like. The actual xenomorph doesn't appear to have the ability to impregnate people with alien eggs.
He needs a facehugger.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's like his larval form, and then now he's grown into the xenomorph form.
So how would he then reproduce?
Well, he just waits until his host body is killed, and then something inside of him shrivels into a black worm creature.
Here's a question for you. You know he regenerates?
Yeah.
You know, if you cut a worm in half...
when he becomes Uber Jason?
No, just he can
Generally,
regenerate.
Right.
We know that at the beginning because they wanted to study him for that purpose.
Right.
If you cut a worm in half, it grows both ends back, doesn't it? So you end up with 2 worms.
Mm-hmm.
Does the same go for him? If you cut him down the middle vertically, would you then get 2 Jasons?
2 Jasons. Well, there's no evidence to support that.
No, it's just a theory.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, his possession thing, it doesn't. I mean, we have never seen it before or after Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
So maybe the stars need to be aligned in a certain way, or the it's a bit of a Goldilocks situation. It needs to be just right for him to do
right. Okay. Maybe you're right. How about you? Have you got any? Ideas?
First one. Staffing issues.
Okay.
Now we've got how many people are aboard this? 24?
Yeah, so it's 24 is the body count, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense then. So about 24 people.
Yeah, about 25, 6, 30 people ish, maybe.
That thing is massive.
The spaceship.
It's the spaceship they're on. What's it called? The
Gilead, is it?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Grendel.
The Grendel.
The Grendel.
Right. Yeah, the Grendel. It's massive. It's as big as the Starship Enterprise.
Yeah.
Which has a team of hundreds on it.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, understaffing, I think. one pilot to manage that entire thing.
Yeah.
If he goes to bed, who's flying it?
Well, the guy that we see isn't even the. Oh no, there are 2 pilots. There's the one that wears a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And then his friend as well.
Right.
And then there's a third. The engineer is also able to fly the ship.
Right. That's
but
fine.
Then he dies.
That's fine. But they appear to need to be it's like a car. You need to be driving it constantly. You can't just set a course and then head off. You have to be in the driver's seat at all times.
Right. It's certainly to prevent it from smashing through a giant space station, at least.
Yeah. Even on a cruise ship, right, which is smaller than that thing, you'd have an entire team on the bridge.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They'd have 15 people.
Yeah.
They've got
true.
at most 3, like 2 and a supporting person.
Yeah.
And they're making.
I mean, maybe it is partially automated, so it's as much as possible. Like maybe though it seems that they're running a skeleton crew, maybe that's just normal staffing levels.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate because there's not really any evidence for that. But,
why is it as big as it is, this ship?
I don't know. It's a research vessel. Maybe it's got a lot of storage. There's certainly a lot of sort of storage areas where the
a lot of wasted space.
Well, a lot of the military team die in a sort of.
Why the military on board?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, there's like maybe 10 students who are unqualified to fly that thing.
Yeah.
And then there's 15 military who also appear unqualified to fly that thing.
Yeah.
You've got 3 people who can move it. And if they had a bad
that is 10% of the crew.
Yeah. If you had a bad fish dish like one evening.
Yeah.
That's put them
maybe
out.
that. Yeah, but like not. Okay. Well, let's say that 10% of the crew are able to pilot the ship. If you're on a plane, less than 10% of the crew on a plane is able to fly the plane.
Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, less than 10%. Yeah, fine, but a plane takes an hour. Like maximum 12. And this appears to be interstellar.
A plane takes an hour in all contexts. How long's a flight, guys? I mean, an hour? Yeah.
This is interstellar. Like they need to sleep, but like
yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's far down on the list of the film's problems.
Yeah. Well, do you think having more staff and having like a better staffing system on the vessel would help? Because you could outnumber Jason and just put him to bits or something.
It's certainly something that they could try.
We've never seen him.
You mean like physically just have like 400 people?
Yeah, just hold him down. Because we've never seen him in a group situation.
That's true.
I mean, like 5 people maybe. Is that a group? Yes. Is it a big enough group to overpower Jason? No, clearly not. Would 100 people be able to do it?
Maybe.
Would 1,000? We don't know.
Maybe we'll find out in the Friday the 13th reboot.
Yeah.
Either the one that's already been made or the upcoming one.
Yes, maybe. Well, that's my first idea anyway. It's a bit vague, but basically just first of all run a better logistical system when you're flying in between stars, and secondly try and overpower him with a group, I guess.
Yeah. My second idea would be why don't they turn on the lights?
Yeah.
There's the scene where basically the entire military force gets killed one by one in this like pitch black warehouse interior sort of area.
Yeah.
Which like, why do they not just turn on the lights? I don't believe for a second that there's just no lights on board the ship, because it's not like, you might get away with that in some sort of building that's got giant windows that isn't occupied during night.
Yeah.
Or like, in a camp where Jason could cut the power, but they're on a spaceship which has power because it's flying.
Yeah.
And I refuse to believe that every single part of the ship is lit up apart from this like giant warehouse area, which is full of like drills and like dangerous machinery, weaponry. Like, just turn on the lights. Like,
even when the ship's been blown to bits and they're in that like final room about to jump off, it's still lit like a hospital.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's almost pitch black, so that it would help them survive considerably if they could spot him easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't do that, and they will die.
It's a fair point and well made. Do you think just seeing Jason would be enough to protect you?
Well, it certainly give you a better chance than not seeing him.
Yeah. People have been killed by him in like daylight.
Well, he is susceptible to gunfire, though. He is susceptible to gunfire, to the weapons that they have in this film.
Right. So if
they
shooting
saw
into the
him,
dark,
if they saw him, they'd all gun him down.
That's fair. It's a fair point, mate. You make a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. I only got one more idea on how to survive.
Okay.
And that's kiss the robot.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone should kiss the robot as soon as possible.
Is that like a standard feature then?
What do you mean?
Like, as in, do you think it's like, here is your KM series robot? Like the salesperson just talking, KM series robot, adapt to any sort of task. Like very capable, good at engineering, chemistry, physics, equations, all that sort of thing. Very sort of normal temperament. Kiss her to access the superpowers. They've also got sort of, adaptable limbs. Like,
Well, more to the point, what she says, he says to her, I mean, what's his name? The goofy guy? Sooneron says to KM14.
Yeah. How's your life come to this?
What are our chances of survival? What are our odds of survival? And she says low. And then he kisses her. And she says, odds just increased.
Yeah, well, that's because he's accessed the kiss matrix. This like programming.
So if the crew just like queued up and just kissed her one by one, would it increase her abilities?
What, until it's like just 100% and she's like a god? Yeah, I mean,
Super Saiyan. Yeah.
Would it then be worth the then presumably social impact of? Because he's clearly in love with her, right? Sooneron's in love with KM14.
Well,
they're in love with one another.
He's mentally ill. He's in love with a toaster, basically.
Yeah, it's like ex machina.
Yeah, we shouldn't be like condoning this.
No, it's ungodly, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
There's plenty of women on that. He's not a bad looking guy.
Well, I mean, let's stick to the facts, shall we? We only see one person kiss KM14, and immediately after that, she's powerful enough to single-handedly defeat Jason.
Yeah.
So, assuming that logic carries, then everyone kisses her. She could kill 5 Jasons or Jason 5 times over. Is Uber Jason, 5 times more powerful than normal Jason? Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. It's a very good point.
Okay. Thanks.
So that was Jason X, and I think we...
Jason X Machina.
Yeah, we're completely able to survive that. Obviously, in 10 weeks' time, it will be Freddy versus Jason. And then 10 weeks on from that will be Friday the 13th, the remake. 10 weeks on from that, Joe, we're thinking of starting a new series for some reason.
Yeah.
We've got a few ideas for what that is. But if you've got a specific horror franchise that you'd like us to indefatigably work our way through.
Yeah. What's the potentials? Let's give some.
Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, is the obvious front runner.
Yeah.
There's also things like Saw.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity. Yeah, just anything that has a lot of redundant sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So send in your ideas for what we should cover for our next franchise series. Is it going to be Paranormal Activity? Is it going to be Hellraiser? Is it going to be The Omen?
Yeah.
HowToSurviveShow at gmail.com is where to reach us. Or you can tweet us at HowToSurvivePod. You can also leave a review of what you've heard on iTunes or on Stitcher or on whatever you listen to your podcasts on. 5 stars is the language of love, and we appreciate all 5-star reviews we get.
Yeah. And don't forget, you can email in howtosurviveshow@gmail.com or tweet at howtosurvivepod. Now, next week, Joe, we're covering a 90s classic from one of the most successful mainstream Hollywood directors of all time.
Yeah.
One of your favourite films,
Yes.
Joe. One you enjoyed over and over again as a child, I understand.
Yes, yeah.
Laughing Away as the movie's body count rose.
Yeah.
You'd say it's informed your personality, your sense of humour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even your politics, maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
President is good, isn't it?
So that's next week's Schindler's List.
Great. Tim Burton's Mars Attacks, I think you mean.
Yeah, sorry, it's a slip of the tongue.
See you next week.
Bye.